Commander Alex Mitchell stood at the main window of Earth Space Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the stars. The deep blackness of space had always made him feel small, but today it made him feel something else. Afraid. His hands gripped the metal rail as he watched the unknown object grow larger on the tracking screen. "Sir, the object has changed course. It's heading directly toward Earth," said Officer Lisa Brown, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. Mitchell nodded, slowly. After 20 years in the Earth Defense Force, he had learned to stay calm in crisis. "How fast is it moving?" "Faster than anything we've ever recorded. It's not a meteor or space junk." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. After 70 years of space travel, humans had built colonies on Mars and Europa, met a few peaceful alien species from nearby star systems, and started to feel comfortable in their corner of the galaxy. But this was different. Sound. "The alert," Mitchell ordered, "and get me the president." Within hours, every screen on Earth showed the same image. A massive ship, sleek and silver, unlike anything humans had built. It was 5 times larger than Earth's biggest vessel. Its surface gleamed with strange lights that pulsed in patterns no one could understand. Dr. Frank Carter, head of alien communications at the Global Space Agency, worked with his team to send simple greeting messages in all known formats. "We're trying everything," he told Mitchell. "Math sequences, light signals, radio waves. If they're advanced enough to get here, they should understand something." For 3 days, the alien ship orbited Earth without responding. World leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to show military strength. Others warned against any action that might seem threatening. On the 4th day, the ship sent a message. It was a simple sequence of images showing their vessel landing at the United Nations headquarters in New York. President Sofia Martinez called an emergency meeting. "We have no choice but to meet them," she said. "But we need to be careful. Commander Mitchell, I want you to lead our security team." Mitchell didn't sleep the night before the landing. He kept thinking about his 10-year-old son back home in Colorado. Was he doing the right thing by allowing this meeting? What if these aliens weren't friendly? The landing day arrived with clear blue skies. Millions watched from safe distances as the enormous ship descended silently over New York, hovering above the UN building without disturbing a single leaf on the trees below. A smaller vessel separated from the main ship and landed gently on the prepared area. Ambassador Olivia Wright smoothed her blue uniform and took a deep breath. As Earth's top diplomat, she had been chosen to speak first. Mitchell stood nearby with 20 soldiers, all trying not to show their nervousness. When the ship's door opened, no one was prepared for what emerged. The aliens were tall, nearly 8 feet, with silvery blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Each had 6 eyes arranged in patterns across their faces. They moved with a fluid grace that made them seem almost like they were floating. "I am Zarvex, ambassador of the Valkyrie Imperium," the lead alien said in perfect English. No one questioned how they had learned the language so quickly. The display of technological superiority was clear. Inside the UN building, world leaders gathered at a large round table. The aliens sat across from the humans, their multiple eyes constantly shifting and observing. "The Valkyrie Imperium has ruled the Andromeda galaxy for over 10,000 years, Zarvex explained. "We have brought peace, order, and progress to thousands of worlds. When our scouts detected your activities at the edge of your star system, the Imperial Council became interested in your species." Ambassador Wright leaned forward. "We welcome peaceful contact with all intelligent life. We hope to learn from each other and—" "Your species shows promise," Zarvex interrupted. "You are primitive by our standards, but you have adapted quickly to the challenges of space. The Imperium offers you protection in exchange for loyalty and resources." President Martinez frowned. "What kind of resources?" 30% of your planet's mineral production, 50% of your fuel reserves, and 10,000 humans per year to serve in our fleet." The room erupted in shocked whispers. Mitchell felt his hand move instinctively to his weapon. "That is not an arrangement we can accept," Ambassador Wright said firmly. "We are interested in fair trade and knowledge exchange, not submission." The 6 eyes of Zarvex all narrowed at once. You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. It is an opportunity to join the Imperium willingly. The alternative is less pleasant. President Martinez stood up. Ambassador Wright has made our position clear. Earth is not for sale and humans are not for servitude. If you wish to discuss equal relations between our civilizations, we remain open to dialogue. Zarvex and the other Valkyrie rose in one smooth motion. Your primitiveness is disappointing. The Imperium has encountered many young species. Some understand the honor being offered to them. Others must be taught. He turned to leave, then paused. You have 30 Earth days to reconsider. After that, the High Command will make the decision for you. When the aliens returned to their ship, Mitchell joined the Emergency Council meeting. They're going to attack us, General Sam Wilson stated bluntly. We need to prepare. Some officials argued for immediate surrender. You saw their ship. We don't stand a chance against that technology. Mitchell listened to the debate rage for hours before finally speaking. There's something everyone's missing, he said quietly, and the room fell silent. They want our resources, yes, but they're also scared. Scared? Someone scoffed. Did you see them? They could wipe us out tomorrow. Then why didn't they? Mitchell countered. Why offer us a choice at all? I think they've conquered so many worlds easily that they follow a standard procedure. But they're not sure about us. They've studied our history, seen how we fight among ourselves. They know we're unpredictable. Exactly 28 days after the meeting, before Earth's deadline was even up, Valkyrie warships appeared near Neptune. Without warning, they destroyed the research station there, killing all 53 scientists. The message was clear. Resistance would be met with annihilation. In an emergency session, Earth's leaders deployed their modest fleet to defend the solar system. Everyone knew they were outmatched. Commander Mitchell was appointed to lead the defense of Mars Colony, Earth's most populated off-world settlement. They think we'll break easily, Mitchell told his officers during their first briefing aboard, the ship Defender. They don't understand what they've started. Earth had only 200 military vessels. The Valkyrie fleet approaching Mars numbered in the thousands. By all logical calculations, the battle would be quick and one-sided. But, as Mitchell watched the enemy ships on his radar, he felt a strange confidence grow within him. The Valkyrie had conquered thousands of worlds before, many with technology far more advanced than Earth's. What they failed to realize was that humans had been preparing for this moment since they first looked at the stars, not with superior weapons, but with humanity's greatest strengths: creativity, adaptability, and stubborn determination. As the Valkyrie fleet came into view, Commander Mitchell smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn their first lesson about humans. They don't surrender easily, and they fight hardest when the odds are against them. The Valkyrie attack on Mars began exactly as their military textbook said it should. Their massive warships formed a perfect half-circle around the planet, their weapons charged and ready. Admiral Zixva stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Imperial Fist, watching with cold satisfaction as targeting systems locked onto the human defense fleet. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Full power." The first volley lit up space like a new sun being born. The Admiral's 6 eyes blinked in their standard pattern of victory. Based on their calculations, this battle would be over in hours. The humans had only 30 ships defending Mars compared to the Valkyrie's 200. Their weapons were primitive, their shields weak. But something strange happened. The human ships didn't line up for battle as expected. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed completely random. "What are they doing?" asked First Officer Krell. "This is not proper battle formation." "They are panicking," the Admiral replied confidently. "Fire again." The second volley missed nearly every target. The human ships were moving too unpredictably, making sharp turns that should have torn their ships apart. Back on the Mars Defense Station, Commander Mitchell watched the battle from the control room. Beside him stood Chief Engineer Samantha Kelly, a woman who had spent the last 10 years studying alien technology from Earth's peaceful encounters with other species. "It's working," Kelly said, looking at the screens showing the confused Valkyrie ships. They really don't know how to handle irregular movements. Kelly had made an important discovery 3 days earlier. While analyzing intercepted Valkyrie signals, she noticed their navigation systems worked on predictable patterns. Everything they did followed strict mathematical rules. Their ships are powerful, but their tactics are rigid, she had explained to Mitchell during the battle planning. They follow the same patterns because they've never needed to try anything new. They always win by using superior firepower. Mitchell had immediately understood the advantage this gave them. "So we don't fight the way they expect," he had said. "We fight like humans always have when outgunned, dirty." Now that plan was working. The human ships darted between Valkyrie vessels, making the aliens hesitate to fire for fear of hitting their own. Small fast Earth fighters dropped EMP bombs that temporarily disabled Valkyrie systems. When direct fighting failed, humans retreated to the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, using mining explosives to create debris fields that damaged enemy ships. By the end of the first day, when the Valkyrie had expected to be landing troops on Mars, they had destroyed only 3 human vessels while losing 5 of their own. Admiral HFY could not understand what was happening. "This is impossible," he growled to his officers. "Their technology is far inferior to ours." "Sir," reported the weapons officer, "they're using our attack patterns against us. When we move to Formation 6, they immediately shift to exploit the gap in our left flank. It's as if they studied our tactics before we arrived." "Impossible. No species has ever defeated the 6th attack pattern." Back on Earth, regular people joined the war effort in ways the Valkyrie never expected. Civilian engineer Paul Jackson worked in his garage with a team of volunteers, converting old satellites into defensive platforms. His 13-year-old daughter, Lily, made a suggestion while watching him work. "Dad, you know all that space junk floating around Earth? Could we hide things inside it?" Jackson paused. "What do you mean, hide things? Like, could we put small weapons inside broken satellites? The aliens wouldn't notice them because there's so much junk up there." That night, Jackson called military headquarters with Lily's idea. Within days, hundreds of small attack drones were disguised as space debris. These improvised weapons weren't very powerful, but they were nearly invisible to Valkyrie sensors. And there were thousands of them. The battle for Mars stretched into its 4th day, then its 5th. The Valkyrie had expected Earth's surrender within the first hours. Instead, they found themselves in a costly fight against enemies who simply refused to follow normal rules of space warfare. Admiral HFY sent an urgent message to the Imperial Council. "These humans are unlike previous conquests. They adapt quickly and learn our patterns. They exploit weaknesses we didn't know existed." On the 7th day, the Valkyrie finally gained control of Mars' orbit, but at a shocking cost. 17 destroyed warships. This was more ships than they had lost in their last 3 planetary conquests combined. As they prepared to land troops on the surface of Mars, they discovered another surprise. The humans had evacuated most civilians through underground tunnels and rigged their settlements with traps and explosives. The first Valkyrie ground troops that entered the main colony were caught in devastating ambushes. Lieutenant Noah Rivera led a small team of human soldiers on the most daring mission yet. While the Valkyrie were distracted by the ground fighting, his team approached a damaged enemy cruiser in a small maintenance ship. "Remember," Rivera told his 5 team members, "we get in, plant Dr. Winter's package, grab whatever data we can, and get out. 20 minutes maximum." Dr. Laura Winters was Earth's top expert in computer systems. She had created a special virus for the mission. This virus didn't try to destroy Valkyrie systems completely. That would be detected too quickly. Instead, it caused small errors that would grow over time, making their weapons and navigation less reliable each day. Rivera's team successfully infiltrated the damaged ship, planted the virus, and escaped with valuable data about Valkyrie technology. 2 of his soldiers were killed during the escape, but the mission was considered worth the sacrifice. By the 4th week of fighting, Admiral HFY was growing desperate. In a private meeting with his officers, he pounded his fist on the table. "Humans are like vermin," he growled. "But clever vermin, we must change our approach. Our standard invasion protocols are not working. This was something no Valkyrie commander had ever needed to say before. For thousands of years, they had conquered worlds using the same proven methods, but humans refused to behave like any previous enemy. When the Valkyrie finally secured Mars, they found it a hollow victory. The colony was booby-trapped, important equipment was missing, and the few humans captured refused to cooperate despite harsh treatment. As the conflict spread to Jupiter's moons, the Imperial Council prepared to send more ships and soldiers. They still believed they would win eventually. Their empire was vast, and Earth was just one small planet. But for the first time, they understood this conquest would be expensive and difficult. On the bridge of the Defender, orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa, Commander Mitchell received reports about Valkyrie reinforcements coming to the solar system. "They're bringing more ships," Officer Brown told him. "At least 3 times what they started with." Mitchell nodded calmly. "Good. That means we've got them worried. Sir, we've lost nearly half our fleet. How is that good news?" Mitchell smiled. "Because, Officer Brown, the Valkyrie still don't understand what they're fighting. They think this is about ships and weapons. It's not." He looked at the stars through the viewport. "This is about the human spirit. And they're about to learn that's something you can't destroy with bigger guns." What the Valkyrie didn't yet realize was that humans were just getting started. 6 months into the war, the outer solar system belonged to the Valkyrie. Their purple and silver ships controlled the space around Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, and parts of Jupiter. But that was where their advance had stopped. Despite having superior technology, more ships, and thousands of years of conquest experience, they couldn't push closer to Earth. In his private quarters aboard the Imperial flagship, Admiral Zixva stared at the holographic map of the solar system. The blue dots representing human forces should have been crushed months ago. Instead, they kept appearing in new places, striking quickly and disappearing. "How many ships did we lose this week?" he asked his second-in-command. "7, sir. 4 near Europa and 3 in the asteroid belt." The Admiral's 6 eyes blinked in the pattern that showed extreme frustration. "And how many human ships did we destroy?" 2, sir. This made no sense. By all logic, the humans should have been defeated already. Their ships were weaker, their weapons less powerful, yet somehow they kept finding ways to fight back. "Captain." Diana Ford of the Earth vessel Defiance was one reason for the Admiral's headaches. Her ship wasn't the biggest or the strongest in Earth's fleet, but it was the most troublesome for the Valkyrie. The Defiance specialized in hit-and-run attacks against Valkyrie supply lines. "They think in straight lines," Ford told her crew during their mission briefing. "So we'll think in circles and spirals." By studying Valkyrie patrol patterns, Ford's team had discovered the aliens followed strict time schedules. They always sent supply ships along the same routes at the same times. This made them easy to predict. "Lieutenant Allen, bring us to point Delta 7, Ford ordered as her ship hid behind one of Saturn's smaller moons. "Wait for my signal." The crew was nervous but ready. Their small ship was no match for a Valkyrie warship in direct combat. But that wasn't their mission today. Today they were hunting a supply convoy carrying critical parts for the Valkyrie fleet. "Supply ships entering Sector 4, reported Officer Greg Wilson from the radar station. "Right on schedule," Ford smiled. "Prepare to move on my mark. 3, 2, 1, now." The Defiance shot out from behind the moon, engines at full power. Before the Valkyrie escort ships could react, Ford's crew had fired their new electromagnetic pulse weapons at the lead supply ship. The lights on the alien vessel flickered and died as its systems shut down. "Hard turn to Sector 5, Ford commanded, and her pilot executed a tight maneuver that no Valkyrie ship could match. By the time the escort ships turned to follow, the Defiance was already disappearing among Saturn's rings, leaving chaos behind. Back on Europa, scientist Kevin Garcia made a breakthrough that would change the course of the war. Working in an underground lab built beneath the ice of Jupiter's moon, he discovered that Valkyrie communication systems were vulnerable to specific sound frequencies. "It's like finding their perfect pitch," he explained to mathematician Emma Ross, who worked with him. "Their technology uses quantum vibrations that work best at certain frequencies, but they're also vulnerable at others. Together, Garcia and Ross developed algorithms that could temporarily blind Valkyrie sensors, creating windows of opportunity for human forces. When this technology was first used in the battle for Titan, Saturn's largest moon, it allowed a small human fleet to defeat a Valkyrie force 3 times its size. The Valkyrie, used to being the most advanced civilization in any conflict, found themselves in unfamiliar territory. Admiral Zixva requested reinforcements, but also something no Valkyrie commander had ever asked for before. He wanted experts in human behavior. "We need to understand how they think," he told the Imperial Council during a secure transmission. "They are primitive, yet they achieve outcomes that should be impossible with their technology. We must learn how they do this." The Imperial Council was disturbed by this request. In 10,000 years of conquest, they had never needed to study an enemy's thinking. Superior firepower had always been enough. A turning point came when Valkyrie researchers discovered Earth's internet archives. At first, they were simply looking for military information. Instead, they found something much more troubling: thousands of years of human stories, movies, and games about aliens invading Earth. "These humans have been preparing for us before they even knew we existed," a Valkyrie analyst reported. "They have imagined every possible way to defeat a technologically superior enemy. What we see as desperate tricks, they see as plans they've been thinking about for centuries." Even more disturbing were the historical records. The Valkyrie evolved on a planet with few natural threats and had developed their civilization in relative peace. Humans, by contrast, had survived multiple extinction events. Their history was filled with wars against each other, fighting against impossible odds, and somehow finding ways to win. "They are accustomed to being the weaker side," the analyst explained. "They have extensive experience fighting against superior forces and winning through cunning rather than strength." The Imperial Council ordered Admiral Zixva to increase attacks and end the war quickly. But the Admiral was beginning to realize that might not be possible. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, Dr. Daniel Martinez worked day and night studying captured Valkyrie technology. For months he had been taking apart their devices, trying to understand how they worked. "Their technology is incredibly advanced," he told military leaders during a secure meeting. "But it's built on assumptions about physics that we don't share." Martinez discovered that Valkyrie ships' power systems relied on controlled quantum fluctuations, a technology centuries ahead of Earth science. But it had a weakness. Because the Valkyrie had never met serious resistance, they had never needed to protect against certain types of attacks. "They've built their ships assuming no one would ever figure out how to disrupt these fluctuations," Martinez explained. "It's like they built the most advanced locks in the universe but never imagined anyone would try to pick them." The resulting weapon wasn't destructive in the normal way. It didn't blow up ships or kill crew members. Instead, it forced Valkyrie systems into a safety mode that temporarily shut down their technology. Getting this new weapon to the front lines was dangerous. The Valkyrie controlled most of the space between Earth and Jupiter, but a small fast ship named the Mercury, commanded by Captain Joe Wilson, volunteered for the mission. "Our job is simple," Wilson told his crew. "We carry Dr. Martinez's device to the battle group near Venus. Avoid getting blown up along the way, and maybe change the course of this war." The Mercury was designed for speed, not combat. It slipped past Valkyrie patrols by following paths no normal ship would take. Dangerously, close to the sun, through radiation belts that damaged their own systems, and even using Earth's moon for a gravity slingshot that nearly tore the ship apart. When they reached the battle group near Venus, Captain Wilson handed over the device to Commander Mitchell, who had been transferred there after the fall of Mars. "Is this really going to work?" Mitchell asked, looking at the small device. "Dr. Martinez thinks so," Wilson replied, "and we're out of other options." The human fleet was down to 42 ships, facing a Valkyrie battle group of over 100 vessels. Earth's leaders decided this was the moment to test the new weapon. If it failed, humanity would lose its last major fleet. When the device was activated, the results shocked everyone. Dozens of Valkyrie ships suddenly stopped in space, their lights flickering and weapons powering down. For 8 crucial minutes, they were completely helpless. The human fleet struck quickly, disabling engines and weapons systems on 23 enemy ships before they could recover. For the first time in the war, the Valkyrie were forced to retreat. That evening, Admiral Zixfa did something no Valkyrie commander had done in the Empire's history. He sent a message requesting a temporary pause in hostilities to discuss terms. The Imperial Council was outraged. They immediately removed Zixfa from command and sent High Commander Krelvor to take over the campaign. His orders were simple: crush the human resistance completely, no matter the cost. What the Council failed to understand was that their biggest mistake wasn't underestimating human technology or tactics. It was failing to recognize that humans thrived under pressure. The more desperate their situation became, the more creative their solutions. As High Commander Krelvor's reinforcements approached Earth, bringing the largest Valkyrie fleet ever assembled outside their home galaxy, humanity prepared for what they knew would be the most important battle in their history. The sky above Earth filled with more stars than anyone had ever seen. But these weren't stars. They were the engines of thousands of Valkyrie warships, the largest fleet ever gathered outside their home galaxy. People around the world looked up, in fear as their night skies glowed with the lights of the enemy armada. High Commander Krelvor stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Emperor's Wrath. He was taller than most Valkyrie, his silver-blue skin darker with age and experience. All 6 of his eyes were focused on the blue planet below. "This is the world that defied the Imperium," he said to his officers. "A primitive planet that has somehow resisted us for 8 months. Today, that resistance ends." Krelvor had never lost a battle in 300 years of service to the Empire. He had conquered 37 worlds personally, each campaign ending with the complete surrender of the local species. He would not allow humans to be the first to defeat him. "Prepare all ships for simultaneous attack," he ordered. "Target their largest population centers. I want them to understand the price of defiance." On Earth, Colonel Ryan Carter coordinated global defense efforts from a mobile command center hidden in the mountains of Colorado. A large map showed the positions of all remaining human ships and defense stations. There weren't many left. "They've brought everything they have," said Lieutenant Maria Lopez, looking at the screen showing the Valkyrie fleet. "We can't match that firepower." Carter nodded slowly. He was a tall man with dark skin and serious eyes. For months he had been studying every battle against the Valkyrie, looking for patterns and weaknesses. "We've studied them for months," he told the room full of military leaders. "They're powerful, but they're predictable, and now they're angry. That's our advantage." He explained that the Valkyrie had never faced serious resistance before. Their frustration was making them abandon the careful approach that had worked for them for thousands of years. High Commander Krelvor wanted a quick, crushing victory to prove that no one could stand against the Imperium. "They're going to hit hard and all at once," Carter said. "But that's exactly what we've been planning for." From orbit, Krelvor watched as Earth's remaining military ships began to retreat. His sensors showed people evacuating major cities. This was what he expected, the beginning of humanity's collapse. "They finally understand their situation," he told the Imperial Council via holographic communication. "The species will be subjugated within days." The council members nodded their approval. This was how conquests should go: quick, efficient, and complete. Krelvor sent a final message to Earth. "Your resistance ends today. Surrender now, and some of your people will be spared." In response, he received a transmission from United Earth President Amy Nelson, a woman with gray hair and a determined expression. "We will not bow to threats," she said firmly. "Humanity doesn't surrender its freedom, not to dictators, not to natural disasters, and certainly not to alien invaders." Krelvor's eyes blinked in the pattern that showed amused contempt. "Then you have chosen extinction." He turned to his weapons officer. "Begin the attack." As the Valkyrie fleet moved into position for their coordinated strike, their sensors detected no significant defensive measures. This confused Krelvor. Where were the human weapons? Where was their final stand? What happened next was the Valkyrie, Empire's biggest mistake. They launched their attack without understanding what truly made humans dangerous. As the first volley of energy weapons fired toward Earth, thousands of small objects suddenly powered up all around the solar system. These weren't conventional warships, but repurposed mining craft, research probes, and orbital maintenance vehicles that had been carefully hidden. Engineer Jason Ward and his team had spent months converting these small craft into carriers for Dr. Martinez's quantum disruptors. Each carried a version of the weapon that had worked at Venus but modified by mathematician Emma Ross to operate in concert, creating a cascading effect. From his small command ship, Ward gave the order, "Activate all units." The small craft began, emitting precise energy patterns that spread from one Valkyrie ship to another. The effect was like a wave moving through the enemy fleet. First dozens, then hundreds of the alien vessels began experiencing system failures. At the same time, civilian hackers led by computer expert Ben Howard activated dormant code that had been planted in Valkyrie systems during previous encounters. The Valkyrie, so confident in their technological superiority, had never bothered to check captured ships for software traps. On the bridge of the Emperor's Wrath, warning alarms blared as systems began shutting down. "What is happening?" Krelvor demanded, his voice rising with anger and confusion. "Our ships are experiencing cascading system failures," reported his technology officer. "Emergency protocols are activating, power systems are resetting, weapons are going offline." "How is this possible? Fix it immediately." "We cannot, sir. The systems are responding to safety protocols. They cannot be overridden." The mighty Valkyrie armada didn't explode or disintegrate. It simply stopped. Thousands of advanced warships hung in space, unable to move or fight. In the confusion, specially trained Earth forces led by Major Sophia Miller boarded key Valkyrie vessels, including Krelvor's flagship. They moved quickly through the ships, using the Valkyrie's own emergency systems against them. Doors that should have locked automatically stayed open. Security measures that should have stopped intruders were offline. Within hours, High Commander Krelvor found himself face to face with humans not as conquered subjects but as captors. Major Miller, a woman shorter than most of her soldiers but with eyes that showed no fear, stood before the Valkyrie commander. "Your fleet is disabled," she informed him. "Your command ship is under our control. This war is over." Krelvor's 6 eyes blinked rapidly in disbelief. "You could have destroyed us all," he said, genuinely confused. "Why didn't you?" President Nelson, speaking via video link from her office on Earth, answered his question. "Because we don't need to," she explained calmly. "Unlike your empire, we don't measure victory by how much we destroy but by what we preserve. We're offering your people something they've never encountered before, an enemy that would rather make peace than annihilate you." In the days that followed, the Valkyrie Imperial Council faced a situation they had never imagined possible. Their invincible armada had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by human innovation, cooperation, and carefully planned strategy. The peace treaty that followed was unlike any the Valkyrie had ever signed. Earth's representatives, led by diplomat Grace Harrison, insisted on terms that would benefit both civilizations. "We don't want your resources or your territory," Harrison told the council members. "We want exchange of knowledge, fair trade, and recognition of our independence." The council members were baffled by these demands. In their experience, victors always took everything they could from the defeated. 5 years after the war ended, human and Valkyrie scientists worked together on joint projects. Cultural exchanges flourished. The species that the Empire had intended to subjugate instead became its most valuable ally, introducing innovations that transformed Valkyrie society. On the 5th anniversary of the peace treaty, Commander Alex Mitchell, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Valkyrie homeworld, attended a ceremony commemorating the end of the war. He stood beside Admiral Zixva, who had been reinstated after his early recognition of humanity's unique qualities. "When you first came to our solar system," Mitchell said to the Admiral, "you thought you'd find just another primitive species to conquer. Instead, you found humanity." Yes, the Admiral agreed, his 6 eyes showing the pattern for respect, something rarely given to non-Valkyrie. And that was our biggest mistake and perhaps our greatest fortune. Valkyrie historians would later mark the war with humans as the turning point in their empire's history. For thousands of years, they had conquered through force alone. Humans taught them something new, that true strength comes not just from powerful weapons, but from creativity, cooperation, and compassion. The Empire's first mistake was thinking they could conquer humanity like any other species. Their greatest insight was realizing that some mistakes lead to better futures than victories ever could. As he looked up at the strange stars of the Valkyrie homeworld, Ambassador Mitchell thought about how far both civilizations had come. Sometimes, he said quietly, the best way to win a war is to make your enemy your friend. And across 2 galaxies, both species continued to grow stronger together than either had been alone.